standing outside waiting for you. You were always taking time, baby.
So it's time for the first start. Unfortunately, we didn't get the actual first start on camera, but it's running now. We'll show you. It was just started before, so it hasn't really been running too much. Got the sump resealed back up. On the first start, there's a few water and fuel leaks. It's just a little bit of loose connections there. It happens though. That's the first thing to check when you just start it. Just check nothing's leaking, and then once all that's good, just check you got oil pressure, and yeah, you're good to go. To initially get it started, what I did was airline and rags over the filler hole for the fuel tank, pump some compressed air in there that primes it up to the fuel filter, take the fuel filter off, fill it full of diesel, back on, prime it up. It will take a bit to get started, so what I did there was I did take the line off the injector pump to feed into it, just got a funnel, filled that up with diesel, plugged it back on, cracked all the injectors. You just turn it over till it starts leaking out of the injectors, tighten all the injectors back up, and it went straight away. On this motor, you got to set up where your crossover pipe for your air intake, there's a breather off the tapper cover. Most people reroute them into there, and because I've gone with this pod filter design and I didn't really want to reroute the oil back through the system, I wanted to run a catch can instead. Just makes things a bit cleaner and whatnot. So I originally just had a hose coming off the breather into a beer can, and as you can see, that didn't work so well. So just a cool little thing you might want to do is, for a catch can idea, and if you've got the materials, this cost me $0. I mean, it's probably not practical to go out and buy it all and do it. You may as well just buy a catch can, but if you've got some stuff laying around home, this is how I did it. That is just a piece of exhaust tubing, and in there, that pipe actually is a 90-degree elbow and runs down inside there about halfway with a couple drill holes in it so it can just drain out. And then I've just got some flat steel plate, welded it on both sides. That's an old oil breather cap off an old Holden motor, or you can buy them brand new from Autobarn, Repco, whatnot, for like $20. Just drilled a hole for a rubber grommet, goes in there. Just mount that up there somewhere. You run your hose into there. $0 catch can. Little extra things I did to this motor to pretty it up while I was building it. Polished the turbo and the intake manifold. If you want to watch how to polish them and learn how to do it, we have a video on that. Tune your car up simply without putting it on a dyno. On all turbos I'll have a wastegate actuator, all wastegated turbos will. Some of them have an adjustable rod here, and you can either play with that rod. This CT20 does not. So a quick little way to adjust boost without going and buying a boost regulator that you just splice in between those two air lines there and adjust it with a valve. This is just a quick little way to get more boost out of it. You just unbolt the actuator, it's 2 bolts, and you slip a couple washers behind there. The more washers and the further out you pull it, it's going to make more boost. So I started with 2 washers, jumped from £6 to about 9, Now I stepped it up to 4 washes, and now it's cracking at about 12 pounds. When winding up the boost, you also want more fuel because you don't want to go too lean, and you also don't want to put too much fuel into it. So if you're adjusting the fuel, just small increments at a time, 1/8 of a turn at a time, even less if you're not too sure about it. So here there's a 12mm nut you got to crack, and on the back there is just, you can just put a screwdriver and wind it in once you've cracked that. On these pumps they do have a safety collar that you got to crack off if you want to wind it a long way in. You just crack it off, wind it the whole way out, take it into a vise and just crack it off, and then just make sure you count the number of turns it came out so it goes back in fine. And when you're winding up fuel, the more you wind it up, the more it's going to increase your idle. So you also have to back the idle adjustment off, which is just on top of the pump there as well. So I started off with 1/8 of a turn at a time, and when you're tuning it without an AFR, air fuel ratio gauge, which I don't have at the moment, it's not the best way to do it obviously, but a good place to start is when it's running, it's not no fucking constant smoke, and then like just a nice, when you plan it, just a nice puff of black smoke and then goes clear when you hold it. If it's a huge cloud or it's constantly smoking, and it's not what you want. That's too much fuel, and it's gonna either over time wash your cylinders down to the oil. Yeah, also you don't want to be planning your foot off boost anyway, so I've probably got on the border of having too much fuel for the boost I have at the moment, but I don't plan it off boost, so it's safe.
So understand what we could do.